Hi there. So I haven't really had a chance to film anything Dungeons and Dragons and RPG craft related because I'm working on a crochet project right now that's taking up all my busy time. However, I'm noticing a lot of people are starting to get some floral supplies, which is actually really cool to see happening. I thought it might be handy for you to have a list of some things that are out there that can be extremely useful and functional and also help you understand what one thing is for and what the other thing might be for. So take a look. I hope it proves to be helpful for you. Any questions? Ask below and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Thanks very much for watching. So this is probably one of the items you're quickly becoming familiar with if you've been watching my videos. It's called floral tape or floral wrap. It comes in a few colors. It's brown. There's this nice moss green, which I have right here for you. And there's also a very bright Kelly green-ish type of color you can get it in, but I don't recommend it. This tape is great because it stretches and it sticks on itself, so that way you can use it for wrapping certain items and keeping them covered with it. It's extremely multifunctional. I'm finding all different things to use it for now that we're doing the terrain and scatter for our games, and it's definitely a useful tool to have on hand. The colors I recommend are this moss color and the classic brown. You can't go wrong with those. Now, another tape you might find if you type in floral tape is this stuff. This is actually waterproof floral tape, and it is basically duct tape, but in narrower strips. It's extremely sticky. I have used this in my floral design days for wedding bouquets and huge floral pieces and things like that. I'm sure you can find many different uses for it as well, but just be forewarned. Once this gets put on something, you're going to have a sticky, tacky mess left over. It's also a little less easy to work with. You do have to cut the tape itself. Sometimes you can rip it. It depends on the quality of the tape that you get. But it definitely can have its purposes out there. As you can see, it comes in this narrower size. You can also get it in the 1/2 inch like the classic floral wrap. So you can look at the different sizes and see if this is something you want to have on hand. Like I said, personally, I haven't found anything for it quite yet, but because of its strength, you just might. Another thing that's out there, they're called wired picks, and they look like this. So let's get the camera to focus. Here we go. So it's basically a wooden pick with thin floral wire wrapped around it. These also come in different sizes. There is one that's about twice the length of this one. This one I want to say is a 3.5 inch one. So it's, about 6 inches long, but it's also about double, if not triple, the girth of this pick. They're extremely strong. They're great. You could use it for posts and things like that. But the wrap on the top is great if you're wanting to try and anchor something down. So if you have, say, a persnickety item that just isn't sitting in your terrain like you want it to, you could use one of these guys and wrap this thin wire around what it is you want to secure, and then you can stick the stake into your terrain, hot glue it, and it'll hold a little bit more securely as an anchor. So again, this is something that comes out in different sizes with different options. So definitely explore those because they can be a lot of fun to work with and they can be more useful than you realize. So these are just a few of the things out there. Another item that I always have on hand is floral wire. Now this usually comes in a very classic moss green. I prefer to get mine on a roll simply because you get more bang for the buck in terms of length. You can get it in this very thin gauge. It does come in a thicker gauge. These also will come pre-cut. If you want to go that route, those are great, but you are limited to a certain length. I want to say the longest you can get is about 16 inches. I personally haven't looked in a few years because I haven't used them in a few years, but just know you can get pre-cut lengths of this instead if you'd rather get that, or you can get a thicker gauge if you want to as well. And then the last thing I want to discuss with you is something called floral foam. So stay tuned for that, and I'm going to explain what you need to be aware of with this lovely little object. So I brought up something called floral foam, and it's an item that I don't have on hand. It's actually one of these bricks that you'll find in floral supply stores that is dusty. It is easy to stick your thumbprints into it by accident. When wet, however, it is great for flower arrangements. The one thing I've seen kind of brought up every so often is maybe I can use this for flocking. Don't. It's a very invasive, it's a very caustic dust that results from this particular foam. I know it looks great and easy to work with, but speaking from experience of having worked in a floral shop in college, it's not great to be exposed to a lot. It gets up in your nostrils, you're coughing up green dust after a while, and it's not pretty. So for those of you thinking, oh, I can grate this down and make flocking, stick with the pencil shavings. It's safer that way. I'm sure it might have its purpose if someone can figure out a way to get that dust to cut back on it, but I don't recommend it. So just in terms of what you might be finding when you're doing research, stay away from the floral foam just for your own safety and so you don't give yourself an unintentional sinus infection, which actually happened to me when I first started working at the flower shop. But everything else that I've recommended, I wholly recommend. They are so multifunctional, they are super useful. So why not add it to your gear and have something helpful that may fit the bill when something else doesn't? So I hope this helped you find some new things you can use. And if you have any questions, ask below. I will answer them for you. Thank you very much for watching.